health, there's a button that appears in the middle of the screen. You click it, you return to this realm, you dupes the boss. The way to do it, at least the way we were doing it, is we'd stay in for maybe 15, 20, well, probably 15 seconds maximum um, to begin with. So you'll bust up the spirit totem really slowly, apparently. You'll have your healer, your 2 DPS in there. The healer heals everyone up full, get some really hefty heals, continue to heal them for a bit unless it gets really shitty outside here, and then he leaves. And then your, or she, and then your other DPS continue to DPS for until like 15 seconds into it, and then they leave. And they'll come out with a hefty buff. The Titan Rage timer on this boss means you should be only running with 2 healers. Um, I say Titan Rage timer is the longer you go on, the longer this content goes on, the more your gear you're going to get, the less of an enrage time it's actually going to be. But at the moment, it's 6 minutes. As soon as it gets to 6 minutes, the boss has like a 3-second cast and instantly wipes the whole raid. It hurts. So the way you accomplish making the enrage timer, you'll see here actually, just the way you accomplish making the enrage timer is you rotate the DPS who are in there, so that it's different people getting the buffs and they have maximum buff uptime outside of the spirit realm. So if I just go back here, you're going to see me going to the spirit realm. So what happens is the tank who is voodoo dolled, and I'll go into that in a second, at the end of it, he gets thrown into the spirit realm. And in order for him to leave the spirit realm, he needs to kill an ad that only he can see, and it doesn't take very long. He just dupes it down. GG. As a bear tank, like, I saved a cooldown for it. It's not really needed, but just spend your rage on mangle. On maul. If you mangle and maul it down, you'll get out easy. I usually save berserk or incarnation. This is me tranking because none of the healers got in. So this is 3 DPS in here. So I'm tranking like a mouse to heal them. And then I kill this Sever of Souls. This is what you need to kill as a tank in there. It's not got that much HP. If you stop to trank, however, you might not be able to do it without a cooldown. I didn't pop one because I'm an idiot, and you'll see me die in a second. 5 seconds? 4? Oh, am I able to make it? 2 seconds? Oh my god, am I gonna make it? Oh, I'm dead. So, yeah, that's what happens if you don't get out in 30 seconds. You instantly die. Okay, so um, this thing called voodoo dolls. This is an interest. This is what makes the mechanic difficult. If you are voodoo dolled, you can't go in the spirit realm. So you need to rotate the people who are going in the spirit realm, but not have the people who are voodoo dolled queued up to go in there because they won't be taken. Which is why sometimes we get it so that healers aren't in there because they're voodoo dolled. You'll never have more than one healer voodoo dolled at a time, so you can always have one healer going in. Bear in mind also, I mentioned the improving your capability, your role. So the healers also gain a bunch of fucking mana. So if they heal themselves, they get this like stacking mana percentage increase, like mana regen buff, and so they should come out of the spirit realm with a shitload of mana, and they should be able to kick some ass. Healing wise, right? Okay, so I did that bit, yeah, right. So what happens is, let's just skip ahead to another try. Okay, so I'm gonna be I'm gonna be the first one in here, and what will happen is the boss Voodoo Doll's current tank that has the highest threat, well, the current person who has the highest threat should be a tank, and then 2 random people who aren't tanks. So it's usually a healer and a DPS. Sometimes you get it that no healers are, which is great, and then you got 2 DPS coming out of the Shadow Realm, and then you've got 2 DPS who are Voodoo Dolled, so the other 2 DPS go in the Spirit Realm. It's really that easy. If you haven't been in the Spirit Realm and you're not Voodoo Dolled, you are going in the Spirit Realm. That's how you rotate it. Getting stacks is really up to the healer's business, and I wouldn't yell at them for not getting up stacks. If they heal you full, that's their job done, pretty much. It's nice to stay in there for a little bit extra to get the buff, especially if you're hitting the enrage timer. But I'd say to learn this fight, learn the spirit realm, learn rotating, and don't try and like maximize DPS straight away because it's really hard to do all of them all at once. So I'd really advise to maximize rotations in the spirit realm. If you're hitting the enrage timer, then you need to spend less time in the spirit realm. If you're getting killed before you get to the end of the boss, that's because you're not spending enough time in the spirit realm because the ads are killing you. So you spend a couple extra seconds in there. And bear in mind, after 20%, he has a soft enrage where he starts doing like 25%, no, 50% extra attack speed, 50% extra damage or something. And also, bear in mind that he stops spawning the spirit totems. So the last spirit totem, just before 20%, you want to do as much damage as you can um, to all the ads that are in here. Tank's going to help out. But after that, the tanks no longer get thrown in, and he just fixate onto the one tank for the rest of the phase. Okay, so I said that. I have no idea what I was saying just before. Yeah, enrage timer. So once you learn rotating people, it's just all about maximizing that. If you're not making the enrage timer, just stay in a couple extra seconds. Make sure your healer stays in for a couple extra seconds so the DPS are getting higher stacks of the buff. It refreshes every time you get healed, so it's nice to get out with a full duration. You can see here actually I've got my version of the buff because a healer managed to heal me, but it's pretty rubbish for a tank. And it just maximizes the dupes. It's definitely worth your whichever tank isn't tanking to really try and maximize the damage they can do. Okay, so the main thing about the voodoo dolls is, although you can't go in the spirit realm, is that 70%? 70% of the damage taken by the tank is then also applied to the other voodoo dolls. So this is the main source of damage throughout the whole fight, is that the tank needs to, the tank, every time the tank takes damage, the other two people are also taking damage. So the way to get around this is to make sure that your tanks are rolling cooldowns whenever they are tanking the boss. Whenever they're voodoo dolled, they want to be rotating cooldowns. So what I do is, when I first enter it, I will start off with a bark skin, taking like 20% less damage. Is nice. I also have Bone Shield ready. For after that, I hit Bone Shield. Wait until that's off. As soon as that's off, you want to have banked up 100 rage, and you just want to roll Savage Defense and one of your dodge cooldowns. I got two, so I just Savage Defense, click one of them, try and get as much rage as I can. Savage Defense, get more rage. Savage Defense, hit my other dodge cooldown, and then once that's over, you got Spiral Instincts in case shit gets nasty. Self heals in this aren't very good. Make sure you're using Nature's Visual to maximize DPS. I usually start off at the start of the fight with Incarnation and Nature's Visual just to maximize DPS on that. Holy shit, look at how many ads are up. So this is what you want to avoid because we're going to wipe here because there's too many ads. So what I did there, I just do a couple of swipes up there, all up on these ads and help out while I'm DPSing this ad down. Look, I got 15 seconds. So what I do is sometimes you DPS that down and then, swipe the ads a bit. There you go, I've got the buff. It's a 30-second buff. Uh, so really maximize your time out here. Stack some cooldowns up, blow the shit out of the buff, that kind of thing. Right, so this is literally the whole boss fight, rinse and repeat. If you can do one phase of spirits, if you can get the radiation down, you will kill the boss. Don't be worried about dying on hitting the rage timer on 20%. We were originally wiping on 20% because we weren't properly rotating DPS in the spirit realm. You can make an extra 20% DPS just by doing that properly. So just don't worry too much about that. Okay, so that's the first three bosses. Let's have a look at our first Elegon kill. Great. Okay, so all right, beautiful. So actually, it's worth noting, the trash in here is absolutely fucking horrendous. So not these guys. These guys here, um, they they do this thing where they get a bunch of energy. You'll see it in a sec. I'll tell you when it's coming in. And then they go to do this huge attack, which knocks you back. You want to beat and then knock back. Here it is, touch of Naka. So he has this buff. Every time he hits you with that buff, he does a huge amount of raid damage. So you want to stand in that big attack that knocks you back, so that this was almost one out by the time he gets to you. In fact, if you can make it so that it has one out, all the better. And then you just tank him again, turn him around, make sure you don't get hit into mobs, and then here it goes, touch Nakala, forceful swing, stand in that, get knocked back, wait for him to come to you. I think the healers asked for more raid damage because they were competing at this point, or whatever. Yeah, so don't be upset when you wipe to this trash. We wipe to this trash a lot. We are just trash, of course. It's kind of in our nature, right? So this is what the boss looks like. It's a multi-stage fight. Basically, you'll get a rotation of like 3 phases twice, and then it'll go into kind of one final phase, which is very similar to the first phase, except you don't get ad spawning and you take a shitload extra damage. So um, basically what happens is you see the circle. If you're standing on this drum, you do 50% extra damage and you take 50% extra healing. The only issue with this is every second you're in that realm, you're getting a stacking debuff that makes you take 10% extra damage. So the longer you're in there, the more damage you take. The idea is during the first phase that you do not have more than 10 stacks of this. As a tank, because I tank first, it's generally the only time I get really high stacks. I got up to like 13, 14. You don't have to worry too much about that. My off tank is a Death Knight, and they're hella squishy at the moment. They might be doing some like OP fucking damage, but they are real squishy. So because of that, I took it first and, just rotate my cooldowns properly. It's not that hard. I get Bone Shield and Bar Skin up for a big explosion at around 13 stacks, and I take it like a boss. Not difficult. Um, Worth noting for bear tanks is the amount of damage this boss does. You actually have like 300k frenzied regens. So, like, don't underestimate your self healing on this boss. It's going to be insane. Um, and so what happens in the first part of the fight is these ads spawn every like 30 seconds, minute, and the off tank picks it up, moves it over to in front of the range group, um, and the range group switch to it, DPS it down. When it's on 25%, the off tank pulls them out of this circle into the edge here, and then they finish it off. The issue is when. So here we go. Okay, so oh no, that's the energy charge. I'll just let it play out. So here I am. I got like 4 stacks. Okay, so I'll be picking up the next ad. So ooh, that's annoying. Beautiful. Right. So the ad spawns. The off tank will pick it up. Uh, Bring it over to the range group who are standing here, all stacked up nicely, so that they can move out by just jumping, or move out and in. The range DPS switch to it, burn it down as fast as possible. Once it's about 25%, you move out. Also, what I was doing was calling a 25% move out, so that the melee DPS knew that they need to get out. When the ad dies, just go back a second. Oh no, that was right. Yeah. So when the issue is when the ad dies, it does. I think it's like 200k damage. No, it's not that high, is it? You know what? Maybe it is. Yeah, I'm gonna say it is. There's like 200k damage to the whole raid, uh, and it does more damage if it's inside the zone there because it gets a buff as well. It takes less damage when it's outside of there, but when it dies, you see, casts total annihilation, explodes. Raid takes a bunch of damage. You'll see that. So the raid took a bunch of damage there, um, and you want to make sure that your stacks have dropped before you take that. So that's why for the melee DPS, they shouldn't take any damage apart from those, and the tanks should reset their stacks after each one of those. So you see I'm back on main tank and the boss now, and the off tank will be picking up the ad and doing exactly what I just did. Once the boss gets to about 20%, he'll start at 15, 90%, sorry, not 20%, 90 or 80%, 80% I think, he'll start channeling the next phase. So this is draw power. What he does is he just does this for a bit, he takes some increased damage. What you want to do is full nuke him at this point. As soon as this is over, you'll get some orbs in. You either want to drop your stacks before these come in, or just after, like just before they start exploding. I'm a tank, so I'll hit any of them. But what we have is we have one person allocated to each one because we got 6 DPS. So we'll have one DPS allocated that one DPS allocated that one to that one, and on the other side the same thing. What you'll do is split the group into two. one tank over this side with the 3 DPS as well as a healer. You'll see this comes into play in in the third phase as well. So what you want to aim to do is to be able to beat the enrage timer on this boss. You need to kill at least 3 sets of these orbs. A lot of people saying 4 or 5. You only need 3. We beat the enrage timer. 3, you can do it. So we did 3 each time. The boss gets an 80% stack and debuff.